Hi, it's Chris Petrie again. Welcome. Thanks for coming by. This is an extreme beginners type video where if you're just starting out in watercolor and you want to learn the medium, perfect place to start. We're going to show you some real simple methods to get started where you don't have to worry about all the details right up front. You can just start out real simply and get going, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. We'll go over each step of the way. So something like this, we're doing a beautiful lighthouse painting, a seascape painting along the ocean with trees, interesting details, beautiful sky washes with some stormy clouds on the left here and some bright sunny skies on the right, ocean, lighthouse. We have lots of fun things to create here. Let's get started. So we'll go through each step of the process so you're not guessing on anything, and we'll keep going, and by the end of this painting, you will be absolutely happy with your results. I guarantee it. Okay, let's get started. Hi, welcome. It's Chris, and we're here to talk about, can you paint watercolors? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. You can paint watercolors. We're going to show you a step-by-step process that you'll use to create any watercolor you would love to. And the thing is here, I'm trying to just make the point to have fun, enjoy the process. I'm showing you the first steps that you can use to start creating watercolors so that you don't have to get too involved with too many details and feel overwhelmed with maybe some of the things you need to learn. There's a lot to learn in any medium that you might work in, whether it's watercolors, acrylics, oil painting, sculpture, any kind of art, any art, arts in general, right? Piano playing, guitar playing, you name it. There's practice involved, of course, but let's just start out, not stress. Let's have fun with this and just show you how you can start out and start having fun and enjoy the process as you go. And then you can keep learning as you go, but you don't want to start out feeling like, you're behind the curve when it comes to learning about the medium. We're going to show you just a few fundamentals to get you going, and then after you learn these few fundamentals, you can take these, keep using these over and over, these fundamentals I'm going to show you here, and then you add on to these fundamentals and keep learning and more as you go. But let's not sort of lose sight of the fun of watercolor and enjoying the process. Let's enjoy this, okay? So we'll have a few tubes of paint we'll start with when we paint. When we get to the painting portion, and we have some brushes here, and then later in the video we'll cover different brushes and things we're going to use. We'll show more details at the end of the video as far as different things you might want to research or whatever. So if you want to pick up a couple different brushes, a couple different tubes of paint, some paper, what have you. But the first thing we'll just kind of mention as we go is I'm going to work from my book. I have a book, Watercolor Methods for Success, and of course this is in my description box below, so you can research this. And again, at the end of the video we'll talk more about this, but right now we don't really need to go in too much into detail. I'm going to use my book as like a way to facilitate learning watercolor at a more advanced pace and not get, again, too bogged down in too many details. And we want to have fun right from the start and learn how to start creating paintings right away. So that's what we're going to do. So this is my new book. I'll put that aside, and then we have what I call a clip copy, and this is my clip copy of my book. And what I do is whenever I want to create a painting, I can always just go into an extra copy I keep on hand of my book, and I say, let me use this as my clip copy, and I can actually trace around some of this subject matter that I have in my book to create a painting. So this is the first step that you're going to use for this video. Is you're going to you can use my book and go and find any painting you like in my book and clip it out and use it just like we're going to do here. Or you can use any magazine, or you can print out pictures on your communication devices if you have an iPhone or a home computer or anything like that. Photographs, you might have old photographs, maybe old Polaroid photographs or photographs laying around, this and that. You can use those. You can clip around those and use those too. So I'm just saying I'm going to use this because I already am familiar with this type of subject matter. It's my own work, and I think we can use this this will be a really good way to kind of show you what we're going to do here in this video. So the first thing I'll do is, again, I'm using this as my clip copy, and this is my book, and I'm just going to go right in and clip out my painting like this. Just like this. Okay, so I have a clipped copy of my painting right out of my book. And again, we want to, I'm really getting excited here already as we're kind of going through this. Beautiful shore scene, lighthouse, ocean, beautiful sky, lighthouse, the gorgeous colors, the reds, the whites, the greens and yellows and golds of the sand, and the trees and pine trees and the sand dunes. Oh, this is really a lot of fun. This is really exciting. Lots of colors, lots of enjoyable things to start to create a painting with. So what I'll do is, this is more of a portrait style here, like this. So this works out fine. And I'll just clip maybe a little bit off the top here. So what I'll do is I'll trim off a little bit of the top here, and I'll kind of work it right into this piece of watercolor paper I have. So what I did was I took some watercolor paper, and again, don't worry at all. At the end of the video, we'll cover all the supplies you might need, so you don't have to worry right now. But all I'm going to say is that I'm using a watercolor paper that's roughly the size of a piece of printer paper. So if you're familiar with printer paper, it's 8.5 by 11. Everyone's pretty much familiar with 8.5 by 11 printer paper. So I'm just going to have a watercolor paper, which is a different type of paper. It's for watercolor especially. You know, it's made for watercolor painting. I have that right here now, and I have it taped down to my table. That's all. I use some artist tape or drafting tape. So you can use artist tape or drafting tape to tape down your watercolor paper to your table, whatever table you might be working on, or surface. And then what I'll do is I'll take this and set it down like that. And again, it's roughly 8.5 by 11 rectangle, and this is a little bit smaller, so we're just going to say, okay, it's a little bit smaller, but this is fine. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to trim around it carefully like this, so that we just leave the primary information we want, and that's going to be the lighthouse, the trees, the sand dunes, and the ocean. So we're going to do that. Okay, so now you see how we trimmed away some of the things that are not too critical to our composition. We want to make our main composition like this. Now this is the way to start if you don't have any drawing skills. If you have really good drawing skills already and you're coming to watercolor and you already can draw, maybe you're painting in acrylics or oils for a long time, or you've been drafting, or you're very talented with drawing, well then you might not have to do this. You can skip this step and go right to drawing the picture, and then you can paint after that. But if you aren't used to drawing and you don't have the drawing skills necessary, this is why we're going to do this step here. So basically what we do is, since you can see here that we have all of the main information that we wanted to have here for our painting, then we can go in and start trimming down a little more, you know, carefully. And let's trim right along the ocean, and then let's trim around like this and just start trimming down a little more carefully. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim down around the lighthouse like this. And, you know, wear gloves if you're, if you're not interested in arts and crafts and you haven't really worked a lot with arts and crafts, you always wear gloves to protect your hands. So maybe what I'll do is we'll take a quick break now, and I'll just show you. You can purchase some really good gloves, or you might have some around the house from doing like landscaping and flowers and things like that. If you're into doing gardening and things like that, you can wear your gardening gloves, or you might have some construction gloves around the house. Best thing to do is, if you're not really familiar with doing a lot of arts and crafts type things, please use some gloves that'll keep your hands protected. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take a quick break. We'll just keep working, but I just want to put on my safety gloves so that you can kind of see you want to work safely whenever you're working with art and art supplies. Okay? All right, so we'll be right back in just a second. All right, so I just found my gloves here. These are my safety gloves I use when I'm working around the house, doing things outside, outdoors, construction type stuff, or landscaping, things like that. These are just really good gloves. They have the rubberized coating on them, so they're kind of safe. You can see how they're kind of protect your hands and your fingers. So you wear these, better off. If you're not used to working with a lot of hobbies and crafts and things like that, you want to be, keep yourself safe, wear some gloves. But I'm just basically trimming around my lighthouse like this. And I'm just going to trim around the basic shapes of everything. So I'm going to trim right along the roof of the house that sits next to the lighthouse. So usually lighthouses have a living quarters for the people that man the lighthouse. So that's what we have here. We have a home for the lighthouse keeper that's right next to the lighthouse. And what I want to do is make sure that I clip my painting here right on the same lines as I see here. And I trim around some of the trees. I don't want to be exact, but the thing I do want to get exact is, let's try to get the shape of the lighthouse exact if we can. Okay. So now you can see, if you just carefully, and it might take you a little bit of time, take your time with this. Don't rush. Don't rush. Watercolor is not a medium you want to rush through. You want to have fun, enjoy it, and just take your time. But you can kind of see how I've clipped out the main idea of the composition of what we're going to create, just like that, right? Perfect. We take our scraps and we're going to throw those away here. And this is the main composition. Now we're just going to talk about composition for 1 second before we start taping this down and starting our drawing. So with just one little principle we'll learn here, and it'll be a little bit of a fun kind of learning thing right here, is usually when you have a composition and you're creating a painting, or even if you're a photographer and you're taking a photograph, you kind of want to think about your subject matter. And you might say, okay, I'm going to take a picture of this beautiful lighthouse along the shore here. I'm on vacation. I'm going to take a picture of this. So pretending we're a photographer, or just we're vacationing and we want to take a picture of something, we want to say, let's make that lighthouse feel like it's setting down in our picture and resting upon, the bottom of the picture. So it feels like it's resting upon something, right? It's kind of down here on the more of setting a little bit on the bottom area of the rectangle we have here, versus floating off like this. Just a general idea. Basically, you're safe doing this a lot of times, just kind of having your subject matter more toward the bottom of your rectangle, like this. Yes, you can move things up really high in the picture frame like this, but that's a little more advanced. So for basics, we just say, let's keep things here like this, sort of lower and kind of setting down so it feels like it's resting like this. And it feels more from a compositional point of view. You're safer. You feel like this is resting in your picture, calm, relaxing, beautiful. We're ready to go. I take some Scotch tape like this, and I just figure out where I want to put my lighthouse. I don't want to go like this. I don't want to go over here with my lighthouse. In my picture frame, I want to keep it like here. Like this, Maybe not centered, maybe a little bit off of center like that, and that should be fine. And I just take one piece of Scotch tape and put it down so that it doesn't move around. And that's it. And that's as simple as that. And then we take our pencil, and the next thing is we're just going to trace around this. So let's do that. Let's trace around our lighthouse that we just trimmed out. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect, just get the basic shape of it. Okay, like that. And then here you can just trace around however you cut out your paper, don't worry about it. There's our ocean line there. Let's put our ocean line across. And then we're going to go around this way, and then we have the house over here with the roof. And this is the quarters for the for the lighthouse. People that are manning the lighthouse, they have quarters, they have a little home next to the lighthouse. They live there and they manage the lighthouse. And then we just have some trees over here like this. Okay. So now you can see how we traced, and now we can just lift this up and look at that. You have your lighthouse drawn in perfectly. Like that. We have our trees. We have our quarters. We could take our lighthouse here and just fill in the details and say, okay, yeah, that's the gable of the house here. Maybe this is the trees. This is the trees over here. So this is where we take an eraser. Maybe you have to just make a few adjustments with your eraser, no big deal. And then what I'll do is, since we're done with our trimming and working with our scissors and things like that, we can take our gloves off at this point. So this is more the trees here, like this. This is the roof, like that. So you can kind of see we're doing the roof over here. Up here we're doing the roof that goes down here. And there's some more trees over here. And there's a little bit of the bottom of the lighthouse is white here, and then it's red up here. And this is the catwalk for the lighthouse with the railings. And this is the actual light of the lighthouse here. There's a lightning rod up top of the lighthouse like this. And that's all you need, and that's fine. And then over here we have a little bit of a sand dune like this coming down like that. And we have our ocean over here. Trees over here, hills, and the sand dunes over here. And we just do a couple lines like this to show the slope of the sand dunes like this. So we know that when we're painting, we're going to use these lines to use our brush strokes like this to make the hills of the sand dune like that. And the ocean is here, and the lines are like this, straight across like this. And all that's left is we're going to have a fun, free time with the sky. We're not even going to worry about the sky and the clouds. That's going to be a real fun, free experience doing our sky. But I hope you get the kind of basics and fundamentals of what we just did here. We kind of created a beautiful drawing of this lighthouse in this shore scene, this seascape scene with the ocean, the sand dunes, the trees, the beautiful lighthouse, and the quarters here for the people that are going to manage and take care of the lighthouse. And once you have that sketched in, you're pretty much home free now. So the next thing we're going to do is show you how to mix up a little bit of paint and colors and put the rest of this together. So, all right, let's have more fun than we've just had already. Let's get started with the painting in just a second, and we'll again show you step by step now how to create the painting portion of this wonderful watercolor painting. All right, so we're going to get back started again now. We're ready to do the painting portion of this video. So we have some paints here. I'll describe the colors quickly for you. So just a quick recap, if you're just starting out here and maybe you just started watching the video and you got distracted and now you're kind of in the middle of the video and you were wondering what we did here. Just a quick recap. We took my new book, Watercolor Methods for Success, and we clipped out a portion of one of my paintings with scissors. We wore our safety gloves. We trimmed out just the basic shape of the beautiful lighthouse we wanted to recreate here on our painting, and we're just starting out, so we don't have, if you don't have expert skills in drawing, there's no reason why you can't do watercolors. So if someone tells you you can't, if you don't know how to draw, then you really can't do watercolors, that's not true at all. You can start out simply like this, do a couple of clippings here and there as you get started, and then after some time, you practice a little bit here and there, you'll get better at drawing. That's as simple as that. It's just a matter of, as you draw and sketch more and more, you'll get better at it. But to begin with, you can start out with some clippings, and that's what we did. We clipped out just a rough clip out of the subject matter we wanted to recreate here, a beautiful seascape with a lighthouse. We taped it down with some Scotch tape onto our paper, and we just did a simple tracing around this trim out that we did out of our watercolor book. And now we have our sketch. Simple as that. And then the next thing, I'll just mention a quick basic here. I have a couple videos, at least maybe 3 or 4 videos on the color wheel. If you want to just do a couple quick breeze through on my watercolor wheel, the color wheel in watercolor, you'll see that I have just the basics: red, yellow, blue, and then you mix out from red, yellow, and blue, you mix out your other colors, orange, green, and violet from the red, yellow, blue, and then you have your tertiary colors, which are on the outer bit of your color wheel here. So basically all that is all of your colors are all derived from either red, yellow, or blue. So if you have red, yellow, and blue to start with, you can create any other color from there. So now that's what we're going to do here. We're going to have 3 colors: red, yellow, and blue. And what I'm going to use is what I found in my studio just a couple minutes ago. I was looking at some of my paints that I had. I have French ultramarine blue. Most, if you, just a little tidbit of information here, most professional watercolor artists will always use French ultramarine blue. I would say 90% of all the professional watercolor artists that I've seen over my years, they're always using French ultramarine blue. There's other blues they use, but this is pretty much like the go-to blue for watercolor artists. And then here we have burnt sienna. Now this is not quite maybe your go-to color for your red if you're a watercolor artist, but burnt sienna is beautiful, and we'll use it here as our red. It's a little bit of a, it's not quite as, I would say, bright looking as some of the other reds, or like vibrant, but it's a little bit of a low-key red, but I think it'll really look nice. And then we have some yellow lemon yellow. So cadmium lemon yellow works fine. If you have a cadmium lemon yellow, most all professional watercolor artists have cadmium lemon yellow, and they also have burnt sienna in their palettes. So you'll always see these colors over and over and over again as you start to research watercolor and watch more YouTube videos and pick up books and research and things like that. You'll see all this stuff in the future. But for right now, we're just starting out, and let's just say, let's get these 3 colors started on our palette. So I'll start out with my burnt sienna over here. I'll just make my color wheel. So let me do this. Color wheel right there, burnt sienna. And then we're going to go with the cadmium lemon yellow up here. And then I'll go with my French ultramarine down here, like that. And then I'll just maybe put a little bit of burnt umber, which is a little bit of a darker color. Maybe I'll put that next to my burnt sienna. So it's just a little bit of a darker, it's like a dark brown, burnt umber. So that's kind of, I'll put that next to my red there. And then we won't have to get too concerned about brushes and things like that. Let's just start out with, some basics. Brushes are totally up to you. I have a watercolor Holbein water container, collapsible water container. And again, all these materials, you'll see these below. We'll talk about the materials, the art supplies, the brushes, the paints, water container, paper. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. And I also have all the links below in the description box, so you can research all of these art supplies and you decide which ones you want to pick up. Maybe you want to start out with some some of the inexpensive items first, just so you're starting out. You might not like watercolor, you don't know. But let's just go with that idea of, at the end of the video, we'll cover more of the details of what we're using here. But let's just get going here. We'll use this as our color. And then, you know what, let me just, I just want to get one more color out. Let me put just a tiny bit of cadmium red here. Alright, so it's still red, yellow, blue, which is the primary colors, which is your color wheel that we were just showing. I just wanted to add a little more of this red here. The cadmium red is a little bit lighter because we do have this cadmium red here, a little bit lighter there. So we're going to use this here. Let's put our subject matter right here, and now we're ready to paint. Let's start out with our red lighthouse. Why not? And then maybe you might just say to yourself, well, is there sunlight coming from any direction? It never hurts to just say to yourself, put a little insignia on your tape, like this. And that's where the light source is. That means the sunlight's over here, coming this way. So what we do now is, I take a little bit of my tissue. I have a tissue box handy with some tissues. I rinse off my brush, my watercolor brush in my water container like this. Dry off a little bit of the water so that I just have a damp brush. And then I just lighten this area like this. So now we make this side of the lighthouse lighter. So that kind of gives us the feeling of some sunlight on this side of the lighthouse over here. And maybe there's a little bit of a shadow, so let's add some blue to that. A little bit of shadow under here and over on this side. Like that. Maybe a little bit of yellow. Mix in a little bit of yellow in there. So now we're mixing all of our colors together. Okay. Now, maybe the roof. The roof is sort of brown and some of the burnt sienna. So let's use some of our, rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of the water, a little bit of brown. Let's right away get our roof color in here for the house next to the lighthouse. Maybe a little blue and brown, like that. And maybe a little bit of red for the chimney here. And then maybe we'll do a little shadowing there for the roof and the window. Or there's a window or a door over here. I think it's a window, like that. And you can kind of see we're already a little bit of red, a little bit of blue. Let's make the roof of the lighthouse here. And that's sort of like a cone, the top of a cone or a pyramid. It almost looks like a triangle. Think of a triangle. It helps if you just think of shapes of things. Like you might say, oh, that looks like a triangle. Well, then you paint a triangle to start with. And then you might add a little more shapes or something to it. And let's leave our lightning rod till later. We don't want to put that in right now. Let's leave that go till later. And we'll leave the details of the railings and things later as well. I think we should leave that till later. Maybe we could do the bottom of the lighthouse here, like this. So this is the this part of the lighthouse here, which is the actual light itself at the top. So we just put that in, maybe there, like that. That should be fine. Good enough for now. And then the next thing we have to say is, well, we certainly see a lot of green and yellow for trees and bushes and things like that. Let's get some green going. Yellow and blue is green, so we can come over here. Yellow and blue is green. Let's make some really nice green like that. There we go. Gorgeous, some beautiful green. Let's make some variations of the green. Maybe a little bit of red in there for the burnt sienna. Okay, so we're just going to mix out some colors up here in our palette. You can use a plate. If you have like a ceramic plate, you can use a plate to start with until you find a palette that you like. But that would be fine. So you have some yellow and green to make, yellow and blue to make some green, like that. And then you can mix in some reds. So you have some, you can diversify a little bit. Maybe some bluer green down here, some cooler greens. So you make some darker green here, a warmer, lighter green there with more cadmium lemon yellow there, like that. And then some even green with a little bit of red in it, like that. So now you have plenty of beautiful green mixtures to go with, and you splash a little bit. And then we'll just start putting in some, you just scrub around with your brush, like this, to get some greens in there. And the basic idea is your lighter greens will be on top, where the light is striking like this. And your darker greens will be where the shadows are, underneath. That's the basic fundamental of doing some trees and greens and bushes and foliage like this in a painting. Your brighter greens are again where the light is, which is higher above things like this. Wherever the light is striking, and that's your lighter greens. Wherever there's more shadows, that's going to be your cooler greens down here. So your cooler greens are down here. And that's all there is to it. And you don't have to get carried away with too much worries about all kinds of details and, what color goes here, what color goes there. We just basically created a really lighter green with more yellow and a little bit less blue here, which is the tops of the trees, and then more blue and less yellow for some more cooler greens down here, which are the shadowy greens that are down below here. And you just kind of get them in, scrub them in. The more free and loose you make things, the better it's going to look. You don't want to spend too much time fussing around. Kind of get this in rapidly. Don't take too much time. Take some time to splash on some splashes. Be careful with your splashes. You can always lift them up too with some tissue. If you go over too much, you can always lift up your splashes like that with a tissue. But splash a little bit, get some splashes on there. Texture, it's always good to have some texture. Okay, so you can kind of see how we did that. And then you can go in and get a little bit, warmer, some warmer. feel too. There is some warmer tones of color. Again, we're doing mixing kind of, if you have the concept of always mixing warm and cool colors. Warm colors are the browns and the reds and the yellows. Cooler colors are the blues and the greens. So if you're always mixing all those colors throughout your painting, warm and cool all the time, you'll always have a nice mix of warm and cool colors in your painting. Alright, so we did some of the really fun trees and bushes. And again, we're not going too overboard with things. I think that's fine. Okay. You can do a little finger painting, tap a few things here and there. Once in a while, you can just do a couple finger taps. And there we have it. We have basically the trees and the bushes completed, except we wanted to make a couple pine trees. Let's make some pine trees before we finish up. So let's get some blue and yellow, but more blue than yellow. Let's make it a dark, kind of a sappy green. A little bit of red in there too. Get some of that burnt sienna mixed into that blue and yellow. And then we just take our brush, we dry off a little bit of the paint, and then we just kind of look where might we see a couple of the pine trees like this. And just put in a couple pine trees. Just the idea of pine trees, they kind of, the branches are kind of, they're kind of straight like this. And then at the top they kind of angle more like this, but at the bottom they're straight like that. So that's just some pine tree ideas. Straight like that. And the thing is, have fun. Just get some brush strokes on the paper. Don't get too fussy and don't slow down too much. Keep moving quickly. Once in a while, mellow out some of the lines with some water, damp brush. Like that. Good. And then a little more of the greens here. Maybe we'll make some sand color. Sand color would be yellow. A little bit of burnt sienna and yellow for some sand color. Like this. And we just come across here with a little bit of that light sandy kind of color. Like that. And then a little more brown. Burnt umber and yellow. Okay, if you added some blue in there and you didn't want the blue mixing in there, that's okay. Start over again. Take a tissue, blot up there, and start again, mixing some more of the color, and then just try some sand color like this. And if some kind of bit of color happens to land on your paper, no problem. Lift up with a little bit of tissue. If there's any kind of problems with something on your paper, your watercolor paper, just use a tissue and blot it up. And that should be no problem. And then we just keep going with our sand like this. And we took our pencil lines and we said we were going to kind of use that same angle like this. We angle our brush strokes like this. Like this. Good. There we have it. There we've angled things like that. Then maybe there's a little more of a shadow color there. A little bit of blue. A little bit of blue under there, a little bit of a shadow under there, like so. Okay. So we add a little bit of red to that, warm and cool. A little bit of blue and green. Okay. 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 Mixing warm and cool all the time. And I'm trying to just lift up a little bit. Here. Warm and cool. So I'm going with some of the reds, some of the greens, blues. All right, there we have it. All right, let's take a quick break. We've done a lot of work here. We did all the trees. We did some pine trees, bushes. We did the grass here on this little bit of a peninsula coming out here by the ocean. And we did the sand dunes here like this with our brush strokes like so with the sand color. And then we did some shadowing. We did some shadowing under here. Just to make sure we have that... we note that this is a shadow under here, like that. And that's all we have to do for right now. And then we're just going to finish up with a sky and some ocean. All right, we're almost there. All right, well, congratulations. You've done a lot of work so far. And I'm really happy that you've kind of got to this point where this painting is actually like 90% complete. So the rest is really just going to be, let's talk about what's left to do now. We're going to create the sky wash and the ocean. But from this point on, I think that's all we need to do. We've created all that we wanted to, as far as we have the lighthouse in, all the trees, the bushes, the sand dunes here, all completed. We have the house here for the lighthouse, for the keeper of the lighthouse. We have their house here. So really, all that's left is a little bit of ocean over here and sky wash. Just to finish up the, sky area. And let's finish up. So the next thing I'll do is I'll just shift up to a larger brush. So this is a little bit larger. The first brush we were using was a number 5 Da Vinci travel brush, synthetic travel brush, and then I have a number 8 Kolinsky Sable Da Vinci travel brush here. We'll use this for the sky wash and the ocean. So I think I'll do the ocean first. Before we do that though, let me use the number 5 here just to do a little bit of shadowing. So let's take some blue here, some blue, and we'll just do some shadowing on this side of the house here. This is in shadow over here, and so is this. And some of this is in shadow too, so we can put that in shadow as well. And all I mean by adding a little bit of shadow is add a little bit of grayish blue shadow color to the areas that are not in sunlight. And you can see the sunlight's over here on this side, shining this way. The sunlight's coming this way. So the house is going to be in shadow over here. And that's all I wanted to do for that. And that should be good. And then we'll get right into using our number 8 round brush. And I'll use fresh, clean water. And now this is the fun part. Let's use some fresh, clean water and just dampen the paper a little bit up top here. Let's dampen the paper. And this is a real fun thing you can do too. As you're starting out in watercolor, this might be one of your first really fun, well, you've probably learned a number of fun things here, little tips and tidbits of things. But this is really fun to do, is you take a brush and you rinse it in your water and you dry it off a little bit, and then to make sure that you don't have your water from your sky wash flowing down into all of the rest of the paint you just did, you just go around, you go around the area you just painted with a damp brush like this. Like this. So you just go around the area quickly, like this. And maybe we go over here too, by the ocean. Damp brush, you take some water on the brush, dry off a little bit of the water on the paper towel or tissue, and you just go around the trees a little bit, just so the water doesn't flow down into the rest of your painting. And then you just go around the top of the lighthouse. Don't touch anything as far as the paint there that you've already painted. Just go around and leave a little bit of like maybe like the, like maybe the thickness of the tip of the paintbrush or something like that. So if you have a paintbrush like this, maybe you leave the tip of the paintbrush, and that's about the amount you want to kind of leave a separation between your damp brush and the area you're painting. 1/8 of an inch pretty much would be fine. 1/8 of an inch you stay, so you take 1/8 of an inch away from where you just painted earlier, and you just go around that area like that. And then you take some more fresh clean water and you just splash it on up here. This is going to be and you just add some water to your paper, your watercolor paper. Then we're going to make some sky wash. Simple enough. Blue, lots of blue. And you mix a little bit of red in there, a little bit of green. Mostly blue though. You want to have a nice blue. And what we want to do too is we want to create a darker blue wash like this, like a grayish color. So that's burnt umber and blue. So if you can imagine, you're mixing burnt umber and blue. That's going to be a rain cloud. We're going to do a rain cloud right here. How interesting is that? A rain cloud right here. Darker up here. So anything you want to do in your sky, it's always going to be darker up top, and then it gets lighter as it goes toward the bottom of your painting. So I'm mixing burnt umber and French ultramarine blue for some darker tones up here for a rain cloud, like that. And then we'll come over here and we'll make some really light blue. Let's do that. Just light blue, French ultramarine blue with lots of water. French ultramarine blue with lots of water right here. And just get the water on there with the color. And then we splash on a little bit of water, like that. And if you have too much water, for some reason, flowing on your paper, don't be afraid. Blot up some paint with a paper towel or a tissue. And then if you want to flow some more water down, just add some more water. Watercolor. You need to have lots of water and color with watercolor. So now we have a real exciting painting with rain clouds and storm clouds over here on the left, and sunny skies over here with blue skies up here. Okay, and next we'll get some blue and green. So a nice dark bluish green, lots of paint, not much water. Dry off a little bit of your paint and water off your brush on a tissue. And then I would say at this point, let this dry. Let's take a break, because you want your sky wash to dry 100% before you go in and paint your ocean color. What happens is, if you paint your ocean color right now, all that watercolor wash up here in your sky is going to flow down and start flowing into your ocean colors. So we want to make sure we let this dry 100% before you create your next wash, which is your ocean color. Okay? So that's what I want to do. I just want to make that point that sometimes you want to make a stop point where you take a break and let things dry, and then come back like an hour later. Or if you have a blow dryer, you can blow dryer. You can use a blow dryer and blow dry your sky off like in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and then start painting again. So it's up to you. You can either let things dry naturally on your watercolor paintings, or you can use a blow dryer and use that to dry things off quickly and start working again. But here's a point where you might have an issue if you have a really lots of water on your sky wash, and then you start to go in and paint your ocean water. All that paint might start to flow down into your ocean color, and that might cause you a problem with too much flow of water in paint into your next section that you're painting. So to be safe, either blow dry this off and dry it all, or wait like an hour or two and come back, and then you'll start painting in and finish up with your ocean color over here. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come right back. All right, so we're finishing up now with our watercolor painting. And again, this is for absolute beginners. You've never painted before in watercolor. We kind of walked you through the first steps of getting your sketch down, and then starting out with just some simple primary colors, red, yellow, blue. Yes, we did add a couple of variations to our warmer colors, like our reds. We used a couple different reds, maybe 3 different reds: burnt umber, burnt sienna, and cadmium red, but you could fit those all into the red family. Then you have yellow. We just stuck with our cadmium lemon yellow, and then our French ultramarine blue. So we just used, again, a simple color wheel concept of just 3 colors to start with, and we mixed our colors from there. And we didn't do a lot of mixing either, and you can see how we got all the colors we needed to kind of create that wonderful, beautiful Lighthouse Seascape painting that we clipped out of my new book, Chris Petrie, Methods for Success. And we'll go over that one more time at the end of the video. But let's get finished here with our ocean portion, which is here. So we let this dry. I used a blow dryer, and I used the blow dryer to dry off all of the water. There was tons of water. Remember, we put lots of water in the sky here to get lots of beautiful washes here in the sky. And then I used the blow dryer to dry this whole off. So now we can go in confidently with our ocean color. And then you just want to go right across the painting, right along that line that we created before, our ocean, so that we have our beautiful horizon line for our ocean here. And then from there, you can add a little green to that ocean color. Maybe add some green to that. And I would just do some simple, blue, and add a little green to it, and just do some parallel strokes just straight across like this. Leave some white paper here and there for the feeling of waves crashing in and foam like that. And I think if you do that, you're going to be pretty solid on this. I'll add a little extra straight French ultramarine blue, straight from the tube paint, no water at all, just straight blue, just to get a really nice dark crisp line across here, up top, like that. So I'll do that carefully. Stick with my pencil line there. You can use a ruler to get your straight lines if you want. When you're doing your straight lines in your paintings, you can always add some really sharp lines with using a ruler if you need to, if you would like to. It's your choice. You're the artist. You're going to figure that out as you go. And then again, we mix some blue and green here, and then just we leave some white paper there, maybe some splashes too, and that just makes it feel like there's some waves splashing here and there. And I leave that like this. I think that's fine. And if some of your splashes might not, you can lift them up too. Splashes come up really easy if you just use a paper towel and lift up a few here and there. If you think you've oversplashed a couple spots, no big deal. You just lift them up like that and they lift right up. Perfect. And let's just do a couple details to the lighthouse. So we would take some of our blue, pretty much thick paint, not much water at all. So I would rinse off my brush, dry off all the water out of your brush completely, and just go in and get just straight paint. A little bit of red, a little bit of blue, like this, red and blue, burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue, like that. And then roll your brush around and get a nice point on your brush. And then we're just going to do a couple of the details on the lighthouse here. So I'll do some of the lighthouse details here, some of the railings around the top of the lighthouse. Just quickly though, I wouldn't do too much details to this or spend too much time on it. That usually ruins things when we take too much time to fuss around with things. Let's just get it in quickly and let it be. Okay, that's good. And then maybe just a touch of yellow for the light of the lighthouse. Let's see if we can do that. Let's get a little bit of touch of yellow. Let's rinse off our brush, get it really clean, dry off the water, and see if you can just go in and get straight yellow without anything else, like that. Much better. So sometimes you have to really focus on getting something with just straight color without blending it in with other colors. That sometimes can be an issue. So don't worry about it. And then put a little yellow, bit of yellow in there for the spotlight in the lighthouse, like that. And then maybe if you want to, you can touch a little bit of cadmium red in there, make a little bit of an orange, a little bit of yellow and red to make an orangey kind of color. Maybe add a little touch of orange in there too, just to kind of give it a little bit of a variation of color. Maybe a little bit of the blue here that we already have for some. There is a little bit of a shadow underneath the conical roof of the lighthouse. So that could be for the roof of the lighthouse. And there's maybe another bit of details there, but I think that's fine. That should be enough detail. All right, so that is the painting. I hope you had a lot of fun. And again, we just wanted to go over some art supplies. If you ever are thinking of taking this to the next level, you want to start watercolor painting, you're excited, you feel like you can create something like this, it's really pretty straightforward. You know, in my description box below, you'll see all the links so you can look at research different brushes that I use, So I have different brushes. You can look below in the description box below, links to Amazon, or I have all kinds of brush links where you can see beginner's brushes, more advanced, maybe more expensive brushes if you want to purchase something a little better that might last a little longer. You do your own research on your art supplies, but we'll have all the paints. I have some of my paints, most of my paints that I use on an ongoing basis, I'm going to have in the description box below. So you'll see links to my brushes and my paints, and also some of my pencils and other items that I use, my water containers, that's in the description box below. I have maybe some tape that I use. I know I have my watercolor paper that I use. So I have watercolor paper that I use, pads, different types of pads, different size pads of watercolor paper. In the description box below, we have that there. Again, I mentioned that I have my new watercolor book out, Watercolor Methods for Success. I have over 80 paintings inside. You'll see in the description box below, you'll see a quick video, 2-minute video that shows you all the paintings that I have in my book. So you'll see all the paintings that I have in my book, tons of beautiful seascapes, landscapes, flower paintings, still life paintings, exercises, all the paints that I use, exercises to learn all about watercolor in there in the book. And again, you can use and you can clip out the paintings out of my book and use them just like we did here. So I hope you'll use all of these things to get yourself started with watercolor. It's an absolutely fun and exciting medium. It's so much fun and it's enjoyable to do. You can take it anywhere you want to go, on vacation, to a friend's house. If you're going away just for a weekend getaway, you can take your watercolor gear with you, your brushes, your paints, your paper, sketchbooks, and you can have fun doing it while you're traveling, or whether you're home, just enjoying your time at home, maybe in the kitchen, your living room, maybe in your basement. You might have a little spot here or there. You want to set up a little art studio for yourself. I'm hoping you'll do that. But in any case, have fun with watercolor, enjoy, and we'll see you on the next video. And again, please subscribe on the right-hand side below if you have not subscribed, so you can see our videos. We have all kinds of videos here on my channel. Beginners videos, so you can type in Extreme Beginners. Extreme Beginners videos are my beginners videos where if you're just starting out in your first couple weeks, couple months, even your first few years of watercolor painting, you can click on those videos. We cover all the basics and fundamentals of watercolor. Or, you know, if you're starting to paint and you've been painting a while, maybe a couple months or a couple years, you can go into more of the advanced videos, which are just, you know, my standard videos you'll see on my channel. So no matter what you're going to do, if you stick here close with us, we're all working together to get better at watercolors, and I'm hoping you'll continue to enjoy the content that I have on my channel. And again, always leave comments in the comment section below too. Questions, I'm always in the comment section of these videos. So if you have any questions anytime, please leave them in the comment section. I will definitely reply back and let you know if I can help at all to help you to learn more about watercolor, get you over some of the pitfalls or some of the challenges that you might find you might have. I'll be happy to work with you, and we'll all work together and get better at our watercolors. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.